Hello there, my lovely darklings. It's your Glamour Goal Guide to Ascension back with another video, and welcome to Mealtime. I haven't made a Mealtime in probably close to 2 years, and I'm so excited to be back to making delicious and nutritious plant-based food so we can learn how to ascend with our physical wellness as well as our emotional and spiritual wellness. And today I'm going to be making my egg salad. I made chickpea salad last time, and it's a very similar recipe where it is a balanced salad where I'll mix together mayo, other wet ingredients, and delicious spices. But instead of chickpeas, I'll be using some tofu. So I have some extra firm tofu here, whatever is available for you, accessible and affordable for you. Doesn't really matter what it looks like. I'm sure we all know what tofu looks like. But you could use just firm, you could use soft, you can use silken. I usually like to do the extra firm because I'm going to be meal prepping this, and my handy dandy cameraman, aka my husband, isn't here with me right now. So I'll be having this portion for a long time. I want to make sure that it is marinating and not getting too squishy and mealy. So for my ingredients, once again, I have my extra firm tofu. It is 14 ounces. I haven't opened it up and drained it yet, but I definitely will. I will be using a white onion. I already chopped up into this bad boy, so I'll just be dicing it. Nothing special, just nice thicker chunks, just to have that nice crunch in there. Oh, I just love onions, not only just for the texture, but for the pungentness it gives it. And then I'll be having my wet ingredients, which will be mayo, whatever vegan mayo, plant-based mayo you have. I have some sriracha. This is not the sriracha, but I had this laying around from a while ago that I just opened, and it's still pretty good. I still prefer the real sriracha, but sriracha is sriracha, hot sauce is hot sauce, depending on how hot you like it. And I have my secret ingredient, which is sweet hot mustard. I usually get this at my local market, but wherever you can find it is up to you. Wherever it can be on. It can be online, it can be in person. This is a brand called Koops, K-O-O-P-S. It's pretty good. It tastes just like the one from our local market. They switched it up. They usually do a store brand, but this is, I'm sure, a brand that they just started featuring there. Still good to me. And for my dry ingredients, I have black pepper, salt. You can use sea salt. I have iodized salt here. Red pepper, because once again I like it spicy. Some Slap Ya Mama seasoning. If you don't have anything like this, you could probably use Old Bay or any other type of seasoning salt. I have some turmeric for color to give it more of an eggy yellow coloring, but also for inflammation and all the health benefits it gives as well. Because seasonings are not just for taste. Herbs, spices are not just for taste. They're also for nutrition. Hence why I like to make things nutritious but delicious. Herbs and spices make it delicious, but it also definitely adds an element of nutrition to it. I have some onion powder. I know I'm already chopping up an onion, but to me, the more onion the better. And speaking of pungentness, some garlic powder. I'm going to douse it in garlic powder. That is not even my secret ingredient. It is not a secret anymore. I pour in as much as I feel. I let the ancestors let me know when to stop. I love garlic. And for the tanginess, the zippiness, I have some parsley and some dill. And for my tools, I have a bigger bowl just to put my mixture in. I have a nice sharp serrated knife that I'm going to be using to chop the onion, to dice it into thicker chunks. And I just have a large spoon just to mix it all together to make sure that everything's evenly distributed. Okay, so now I'm going to cut open the tofu, drain it, and put it into my bowl where I'm going to be mashing it. I forgot to mention this tool with my tofu smasher. Okay, so now that the tofu is nice and drained, I'm just gonna slap it right on here in the bowl, and I'm going to mash it. Usually, once again, my husband's here to help me mash. I usually like to have his help on the chickpeas because they're a little bit more dense. But since, even though this is still extra firm, it won't be too hard. So yeah, I'm literally just gonna smash it. Speaking of mealtime, just you putting all my aggression and anger into it. Speaking of transforming things and transmuting things, this community of ours where we're constantly transmuting and transforming how we feel. If you're feeling angry or you're feeling some type of way, of course allow that energy to release, because you do not want this energy in your food. You want to put love, compassion, joy, peace in your food. But mashing tofu is a great way to release that type of energy. But just make sure that you allow it to leave. You push it outside of your room, your window. There's windows right next to me. Push it right outside of your window. Push it right on out. And then you're transmuting that energy into love, peace, joy, happiness, bliss, and you're putting it into your food. But since I'm not angry, I'm just doing this out of necessity. Mash, mash, mash. All right. Here's what I have so far. Hopefully you can see that, since the bowl is stark white and so is the tofu. But now they kind of look like cauliflower heads right now. So I'm gonna continue to keep mashing them until it is completely like scrambled eggs. So mash, 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 mash. Awesome. Looking good, looking good. All right, perfect. I'm digging it. Yeah, and I don't want it to be completely mealy, everything to be completely squished, especially since I'm going to be mixing it with my spoon. Things will pretty much get evenly mixed that way, and some of the clumps will be less clumpy. Okay, so I'm just gonna put my masher away, and I'm going to chop my onion. And nothing special, once again, we all know how to chop onions, at least hopefully. So I'm just going to chop it and dice it into bigger chunks, because it's not horrible to have them be a little bit on the thinner side, like if they're julienned or just smaller pieces. But once again, I like the pungentness and the crunch because it gives it a nice texture. So I'm just going to use my serrated knife. I already cut my onion previously, as you can tell, it's already been used. So what I like to do is I like to cut it long ways and sideways so that it's easier for me to have them diced the next time I use it. So I'm just going to do that. Once again, luckily, I did the hard part already. So they're nice, even chunks. Well, we'll say the lines were a little weak, probably because I've used this onion even last night when I was making a salad, a delicious, yummy salad. Oh my goodness. But I'm just gonna chop them up a little bit so they could be smaller chunks. I don't want them that thick now. So I'm just chopping them up, and perfect. Awesome. So I'm gonna set my onion aside. I'm just gonna put it back into a container I have in the fridge so I could use it for something else. I always like to have my onions and all of my savory food. And this is pretty much how it looks like. You can see it once again. That's okay. You know what onions look like. And I'm just going to put them in my mashed tofu in the bowl. Wonderful. Okay. And I'm just going to, anyways, I'm just going to set those aside so I can wash it later, because I want to make sure I catch the onion smell very quickly when I use that cutting board next, because I use that cutting board quite often. So now we have the tofu in the bowl with some onions, and we're going to move on to putting in the wet ingredients. So once again, it is veganese, or whatever vegan mayo, plant-based mayo you have, some sriracha, doesn't matter the brand, even though it kind of does because we know the difference, either way. And whatever sweet hot mustard is accessible to you. I'm not too sure if that's like a widely popular thing, but I love it. I love it in my balanced salads. Okay, so I don't necessarily have any measurements. I just do it intuitively. Everything I do is intuitive, but let's see what we come up with. So this is usually the amount I put in when it comes to my mayo. It's probably less than a cup, if I could be honest, or if I could predict it. So I put in a few scoops of a larger spoon. Oh, maybe it might be more than that. Yeah, it's probably like about less than a cup. And once again, I can make it slightly creamier since this is an extra firm tofu, and luckily it won't get too silken or too soft. Something that I like to avoid when I am making a balanced salad, like my chickpea salad as well. So I'm going to put in a little bit of a squirt of sweet hot mustard, and that's how it looks like so far. You can tell it's like a beautiful hot orange look. If not, no worries, you understand the vibe. And then I'm also going to put in a squirt, a similar squirt, which is probably like less than maybe a few teaspoons. I don't like to use too much, even though I like it spicy, but still. I'm going to be adding in red pepper anyway, so I don't have to do the absolute most. Okay, so yeah, maybe a few teaspoons. All right, so just use my wet ingredients, and I'm just going to set that aside. Okay. That's what it looks like. Awesome. Okay. And now on to my favorite part, which is the herbs and spices. I love to play around with seasonings. I love to experiment with them. And I usually have a similar one, like similar ones that I use all the time. I'm going to start with my big 4 or 5. I usually call it my big 3, but I really would say it's probably my big 4 or 5. So I'll start with that. It is black pepper. And once again, I do everything intuitively. There is no real measurements here. So do what feels best for you, especially with how you eat, and especially with your current health conditions. You know, you obviously probably don't want to use too much salt if you know that it is not going to be good for you. I don't like to use too much salt. However, this is a plain block of tofu, so I use as much as necessary. I don't like to do the absolute most, but I like flavor. So black pepper, I'm using some paprika, kind of running out. Oh, I got some new one, a new one the other day. Sweet. And I don't have to use that much paprika because I have some slap your mama, but I'll get to that in a second. So my big 3, so a big 4 or 5. So that's black pepper, paprika, onion powder. And once again, I know I already have onions in here, but whatever. Still good. And garlic. So that's definitely my big 4. I like to use those in a lot of things. Of course, salt, but usually a lot of my food is lightly salted, or salt is also kind of a given. Or I'll use slap your mama for the salt aspect, but obviously not too much. Don't want to be raising my blood pressure. All right, and garlic. So once again, this is a tiny little garlic. They didn't have the bigger garlics when I went to the store very recently. So as I said earlier, I'm going to be dousing it. I'm not too sure if you can see how much I'm adding, but I'm adding a lot. I'm probably already almost done with this. I just got this very recently, but I'm not even mad. And I'm going to be adding some red pepper to add a little bit more spiciness. And it's so funny because Slap Your Mama basically is red pepper in it. It's basically like the cayenne, it is salt, red pepper, black pepper, and granulated garlic. So I already pretty much added those things anyway, which I'll get to the salt actually. But it adds a little extra flavor. There's something that they do. I can't explain it, but I just love it. And cayenne pepper is also a good option. I like to use cayenne pepper in a lot of things, but I have red pepper for now. And it's good for magic as well. It's great for clearing and banishing. All right, and salt. So I'm not using as much as it looks like. I'm just sprinkling the salt in, I swear. And even if I was, who cares? No, but I care. Especially since I'm going to be using Slap Your Mama, since Slap Your Mama already has salt in it. So I'm gonna be putting a healthy amount of Slap Your Mama in it. And I'll probably stop there, but once again, it just gives it like an extra zip, an extra zing. And I love, love, love it. And I'm going to be adding, nutritional yeast. I'm not too sure if I mentioned that already. It's just the traditional Bragg's nutritional yeast. If you're vegan or plant-based, you know the vibe. You know that this is something that gives a lot of good minerals like B12. It also adds a great cheesy, like almost cheddary flavor, a nutty flavor. When you add it to things like salads, I love to put them in my cheese sauce that I like to make for my mac and cheese, which I'll be making a recipe for very, very soon. I like to put this on top of salads and obviously in my bound salads. So putting that aside. And then some turmeric. Turmeric is awesome. Once again, giving it a good color. And once again, for the anti-inflammatory aspect, turmeric is so grounding and wonderful and earthy. I love it. And now on to the final ingredients, which are the herbs, which will be dill and parsley. This definitely gives it that summer bound salad feeling at the cookout, which I absolutely love. So I'm just going to once again douse this with some parsley. Nothing go wrong with that. And some dill. Just gonna pour it all in. Awesome. Not all in, but a lot. A lot. Okay. Just a little mo. All right, so this is how everything looks like so far before I'm going to mix it. Hopefully you can tell. It just looks like, I don't even know what it looks like. It looks like there's grass in there. It looks like there's twigs in there. It looks like there's dirt in there. But it is going to be nice and delicious. So I'm going to stir it on up. And we're going to look at the final result, which is going to be so yummy. All right, so now let's mix it. All right, so once again, I'm mixing it and I'm just making sure that all the chunks are de-chunked, especially since I wasn't able to smash out all the other ones with my handy dandy smasher right over here. So I'm just mixing. Making sure everything is evenly distributed. And I'll know that everything is evenly mixed when the color is nice and yellow, when the spices look nice and dispersed, and that is just smelling like egg salad. All right, almost there, almost done. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'll probably show a close-up very shortly of my egg salad. Ooh, it's looking real good, I'm not gonna lie, and it's smelling delicious. I just ate lunch not too long ago. I just had like a little black bean burrito with some kale, corn, peppers, sweet potatoes, barbecue sauce. But I'm going to try a little bit of this now anyway. Already blessed my food, already put my love and my peace in it. So let's just have a little taste test, shall we? That's how it looks like. Wonderful. You already know. You already know. And of course, a lot of people who cook and are who are really well versed in making food. Of course, we're biased because I season my food and I make my food to my own liking. But this is definitely delicious. I put my foot in it. I put both my feet in this. So yes, go ahead and try yourself some egg salad. I trust you enjoyed this and that you're going to like your own version of it. Let me know what other recipes you would like me to try for my next Middle Mealtime. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Middle Mealtime, and I am so excited for the next one. Much love, and until next time, my lovely darkling. Bye-bye.